Hi and welcome back to EXPLORE-OVERLAND. And today I've posted up a heap of pictures and a couple of videos of this beautiful Bahama Gold Series 3 trayback. And it's a factory original vehicle, which I didn't go overboard in and fully restore, because as I'll show you when we go through the photos, it just had a beautiful worked patina at all the controls and around the floors. It just had that, touched and looked after look. And all I wanted to really do was transform the outside. And I spent a lot of time on the outside and the paint, getting it a real exceptional finish on the paintwork and retaining all the original factory features like the spot welds. And you can see here from this picture before I really get started on the inside and all the detail, you can see that I'd left the patina both inside the tray and inside the vehicle and under the engine bay. And you see that warm look where someone's been getting in over the seat box onto the seat. And then you can see the transformation in fresh new Bahama Gold, and it just really pops this colour. And I finished the roof off in sandstone. There was a fair bit of bodywork went on with this vehicle. She's a little bit, the last owner in particular, it was very well looked after vehicle, I'd say, up until the last owner. And it just got some dings and that around it. The roof had been stood on and I had to tap all that out, which was quite a job on these roofs, which I'll go to in further restorations I've done. But you can see here I really worked the tray. The tray was a bit knocked about as well, had a lot of dings in it, but it's the factory original tray that they were sold with when they're new. And you can see underneath all the front mud guards and that here that it was a pretty nice original vehicle. And the reason I chose this vehicle to do, it was around about the time when the whole 80-inch craze sort of took off and become a bit boring. Everything you seen was an 80-inch, and I just wanted to do something completely out of the ordinary. So I picked a Series 3 and a trayback, which most people wouldn't have touched with a barge pole. But using this vehicle to highlight all the detail was really a wise choice, because a lot of people didn't really appreciate how cool these vehicles are looking back and restored back to their factory original fixtures. And they really scream 1970s. I've just taken the sides of the tray off here. The sides of the tray were quite knocked about. I had done a lot of work. They were probably used as loading ramps and stuff back in the day. But I've done a lot of work in straightening all those out. They're only thin metal, but I tried to save all the original spot welds and all of that with those as well. And so that when the vehicle is finished in a really, really high finish, it shows off all of those spot welds, and that it just makes it just that little bit exceptional. And you can see there the spot welds in the middle of the tray as well. But everywhere you look on the vehicle, retaining all the spot welds was the priority, to get it straight and to maintain the spot welds. I mean, that's the real sign of a really good vehicle, is if all the spot welds have been retained. You don't start out on a vehicle like that to that sort of finish with something that's a basket case to start with. You need a vehicle that's pretty good before you can start to bring something up like that and then retain all of those sort of finishes. You can see under the bonnet there just how clean the old bus was. It's had a Holden air cleaner put on it at some stage, and they got rid of the oil bath, which was a common thing. The Australian wheels on the old girl. And this one had the AVM locking hubs on it, which were one of the brands for locking hubs back in the day. There was quite a few different ones. Selectros were probably the most famous on the Series 3s, but this one didn't have them. And I made the bumper from scratch. As you can see, not rocket science, basic Land Rover construction. I didn't have a bumper, so that was just a bit of flat steel I knocked up and rolled the edges and welded them, and yeah, pretty basic stuff. And I wanted to put the front mudguard mirrors on it as opposed to the mirrors up near the doors, which up near the doors is a bit more practical, but I wanted to give it that real period look with the mirrors on the top of the front mudguards. And the rear mudguards underneath the tray were quite knocked about as well. They're all bent up and pushed up. I managed to flatten them all out and get them all nice again. And the Bahama Gold just absolutely pops in the sunlight. It's a really beautiful colour. It was interesting that I think it was either 80 or 81, and at that stage Land Rover had been running with Bahama Gold on the early two-door Range Rovers since, you know, the early 70s. But they were starting to disuse it on the Range Rovers, and the Land Rovers, the series Land Rovers, they were running Camino Gold, but at this point they changed over from Camino to the Bahama Gold on the last of the Series 3s, and it's one of the things that denotes the last of the Series 3s from the outside. If you're looking at them with the Bahama Gold, you know straight away it's a late one. And I think, you know, if you're picking an old historic car to restore or something to drive around, I think this is about the limit of what you want to do to them. You sort of want to retain enough patina that you can drive them, but have it looking that nice that it turns heads as it cruises down the road. I think when we look back at history and people spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on cars that they don't drive, and the only time that they go out there on a trailer, I think we're going to look back at that as looking really bizarre. I scratch my head at it as it is without looking back. But if you're going to so much effort, you really want to be able to drive it and enjoy it. And this was the guy I sold this to, it was going to be driven, which was really cool. And he was going to be using it on the beach and all sorts of stuff, taking the surfboards down. And, you know, this will become a bit of a series. I'm going to put up a few cars. I mean, not everything, but I've got, you know, tens of thousands of photos of cars that I've restored and sold, you know, just over the last maybe 4 or 5 years. I'm going to put a few together like I've done with this one, and put them up for people's interest. You can see here in the background there's a couple of My Series ones here, and I ended up selling, there's a 109 there, and I'll put that up in the near future. That was a beautiful patina vehicle, and I've got photos of it me stripping it down and tapping the dents out of the panels and retaining the patina. But this vehicle was the vehicle I'd done the lease to, and it's a very, very practical vehicle to get around and drive in after that. It's probably the best of the Series 3s, you know, power boosted drums and all that sort of stuff. It's still as archaic as an old Land Cruiser, but as far as series goes, it was about as good as they got. Now, the last couple of times I drove this into town, and I drove it around a bit in a small country Victorian town, and it was turning far more heads than all the brand new Land Cruisers, that's for sure. Very cool thing to drive around. Everybody looked wherever it went, especially in the sunshine, because it just really stood out. And that's a photo going down to be sent over to WA. And this is it on a self-propelled victory lap with the choke out. The last one, probably in Victoria too. But a really beautiful car. I really enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed driving it, just everything about it. And as I said earlier, all at a time where everything was just about 80 inches in Series 1s. I think that's why I got so much enjoyment out of it. I'm usually doing the opposite to what everyone else does. As I found out at an early age, that's where the real fun is. And really, is there anything cooler than an Australian 109 trayback?